Again, this is the final part of the interview with Corrine Carthy. In this part, we talk about why you might have digestive issues, bloating, constipation, and we also talk about Autophagy's secret to being sharper during your exams. So, I hope you find this interesting, and if you missed the last part, we talked about the ionization of fruit and vegetables, and also the blood sugar roller coaster. All very interesting topics in my opinion, and I urge you to go back and watch it after you finish this one. Hope you enjoy.
And the benefits, I mean, another one which is pretty good, it's what we call the Migrating Motor Complex, MMC. That's a process where the gut gets clean. It's a wave movement, if you want, that starts from the esophagus all the way down to the anus. And it's basically a wave, like a movement within your gut that pushes down the foods and the leftovers on the digestive tract walls and everything. So it's a cleansing system. And again, that only happens when you're fasting, when you're not eating. As soon as you put something in your mouth, that MMC stops.
Okay. How long into a fast until this would happen?
Well, the Migrating Motor Complex happens every 290 minutes. So it is a system that works all the time. But the fact, if people eat every hour, then they don't get that. And then they wonder why they have digestive issues, why they have bloating, why they have constipation, why they have, you need to leave 2 to 3 hours between your meals for that MMC to happen, for that, that wave, that cleansing wave, which the body has. It's not something that we are making it do. We have no control over it. It's, as I said before, the body is very clever and it knows what to do. The body doesn't want us to be sick. The body wants us to be healthy.
You just have to trust your body.
Exactly.
Yeah. So trust the body and how it's designed to work. So, yeah, that's pretty much wrapped it up for now. But I just want to go back how you're saying to only eat when you're hungry, and so I'd like to have you explain, or not, have you say your thoughts on how do you know when you're hungry.
Again, everybody's different, but that's something that you feel inside in your gut. Are you hungry? Are you? I don't know how to explain it. I think everybody is individual would know if they're hungry, like if they really need to have something to eat, or whether it is because it's time for your morning coffee and your bun, or whether it's time for your, because it's 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever, I have to eat. Well, if you're not hungry, you don't have to eat. You can eat in half an hour. You can eat in an hour. If people are working or they're at school or they're, doing a homework or whatever, or wherever they are, I mean, I'm sure that it's happened where they've skipped a meal because they were, engrossed into something they were doing and they forgot, and then they look at their clock and said, it's 1:30 and I haven't had my lunch. Okay, I'll go and have my lunch now. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So could you
and I know sorry.
No, we're fine. Go on.
At the beginning, you were asking me some of the benefits of fasting, intermittent fasting. I mean, these are all research-based benefits. There's a complete rest, as I mentioned before, there's a complete rest of the digestive system. And that allows for, rather than digesting, for the body to do other jobs like repairing. When you think that digestion takes about 20 to 30% of your energy just to digest the food that you've eaten, particularly if you've had a really heavy meal. So that's one thing. It gives the digestive system a rest, but it also gives the associated organs a rest. So your pancreas doesn't have to work so hard because it doesn't have to release insulin. Your kidneys, your liver doesn't have to produce as much bile. Everything is it's like a domino effect. Everything is resting. Then it gives a chance for the antioxidants to do their work. Again, if you're not digesting, the body can do other things, repairing. It supports decongestion and purification of the tissues and your cells through this autophagy that I mentioned before. Obviously, the loss of toxic fat deposits, because if you're in ketosis, you're burning your fat tissue, which means you're releasing your toxins from your fat deposits. A lot of people that fast, and that was done, there's a research done by Dr. Longo in California. It prevents premature aging because you're cleansing your cells and you're repairing your cells through autophagy. So your cells are basically renewed. There's also a regeneration of your immune system through fasting and autophagy. It supports weight loss, and it also supports maintenance, because if you do lose the weight and then you go into intermittent fasting, you're supporting your weight loss. You're not putting everything back on. There's obviously a reduction in the DNA damage as well, because again, through autophagy, you're cleansing your cells. It's been shown to boost cognitive performance. It creates more BDNF, which promotes cognitive performance. It reduces inflammation markers. If you're not eating as much and you're not putting as much rubbish in your body, then you have less inflammation, less food intolerances. It also accelerates cell turnover through autophagy again, and apoptosis, so the natural death of your cells that should be dying when they're meant to be. So it also boosts your human growth hormone levels by 300% after 3 days of fasting. And human growth hormones are good for getting rid of fatty tissues and building lean muscle mass. It repairs damaged tissues after exercise. There's so many benefits. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, obviously, as you might have gathered by now, it's kind of my passion.
So you mentioned muscle mass there, and that got me thinking, on the fast, as you're not eating anything, would you be prone to losing muscle mass? Or
right? So that's kind of a myth. You lose muscle mass when you are starving yourself. When you're fasting, you're not starving. It's a completely different thing, and a lot of people don't understand that. Fast, you have to have lost all your glycogen, all your glucose, all your glycogen, all your triglyceride fatty tissues before the body will turn to your proteins and your muscle. If you think about it, Tom, your heart is a muscle. Do you think your body's going to go and eat up your heart?
No.
So the protein that it uses at the beginning, between the switching from glycogen to fatty tissues, is usually old protein, damaged protein. So the lining of your gut cells, damaged proteins from your cells that the body's recycling through autophagy. So there might be a very, very small loss of protein right at the beginning, while your body is switching from burning fuel, so from glucose to ketone bodies, but it's very, very slim. As soon as you eat again in your fasting, in your eating window, you regain it. And again, unless you're starving, where you have no more glycogen, no more glucose, no more fatty tissues, then that's when you go into starvation, and then the proteins and the muscles are going to be eaten away, and that's death. I'm not promoting that. It's nothing to do with fasting. Fasting is a natural. Fasting is, it's willful refrainment from eating for a period of time, a person who has not eaten overnight, or after a complete digestion and absorption of a meal. So if you eat your breakfast and then you wait until 1 o'clock for your lunch and you're fasting between there, you've completed your digestion and the absorption of your last meal. You are fasting then. Does that mean you're going to die and you're going to? No. The body is eaten the meal. It's done what it had to do with the food, and then you're resting until your next meal. That's what fasting is. Fasting does not mean starving and perishing.
So could you nearly say that?
Again, I'll just sorry.
No, you go on.
Just like fasting, it's been done for religious purposes, for like cultural and religious practices for thousands of years. The Jews, the Catholics, the Islam, Hindus, they all have fasting within their religion. And then there was many healers and doctors as well that use fasting for health over time, going back around 430 BC with Hippocrates. You had Claude Gallien, you had Avicenna, you had Paracelsus, and then in the 1800s, 1900s, you had Herbert Shelton, you had Isaac Jennings, and then Dr. Otto Buschinger in the early 1900s. They all use fasting, and they had but now obviously these guys were doing therapeutic fasting, but Hippocrates apparently was said to have told all his students to go and fast before exams, because it made them sharper and helped them retain the lessons better. Now, I'm not saying, you're a student, I'm not saying go and fast between your exams, but I think a lot of people nowadays should consider, keeping space between their meals and not grazing all day. That would make a huge difference.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier as well that when you're doing intermittent fasting, you're not eating as much.
Yes. Well, you are eating. I mean, I eat as much as I want. You need to eat to satiety.
Right. Yes.
You don't want to eat. You don't want to overeat, because you don't want to think, oh, I skipped a meal, therefore I'm going to eat twice as much. If you eat the right foods with the right nutrients, your body is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we women are supposed to eat about 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day, and men about 2,500. If they're athletes or whatever, they might eat up to about maybe 2,800 to 3,000 calories a day. If you look, the average person is eating 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. We are eating way too much.
And
now, I'm not talking about children and adolescents who need the food, who burn more calories because they're active and they're growing, or even, breastfeeding mothers or pregnant women. I'm talking about the average person that might be a little bit overweight and yet still eats way over the calories that they're supposed to be eating, that the body requires.
Yeah. And then them extra calories are going into your fat stores.
I'm sorry?
And then them extra calories go into their fat stores and
yes, the extra and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So
and then fatty tissues create inflammation, and then they have aches and pains, and they, and it's a lot to ask of the heart, because then it's got to pump more throughout the body. It's it's a burden on then the rest of the body, the rest of the organs.
Yeah. So it's like a never-ending cycle, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. Is there any other topics do you want to mention? And you want to say?
Not really. I mean, I think I've said everything. I mean, the key things to take from this talk, if you want, is basically to make sure you eat to satiety when you are eating, but not to overeat, to watch what you put in your body in terms of calories, but also in terms of quality of the food. Try and cut down on your sugar intake, your carbohydrate intake. The body has what it needs to make glucose if it needs it. You don't need to pour, buns and bread and all the white flours and white, try and eat whole food. If you're going to go for, bread, go for a whole meal. If you're going to go for rice, go for brown rice. If you're going to go for, try and have the food with the fiber with it, lots of fiber. That helps as well, particularly in, keeping the digestive system healthy. And also feeding your good bacteria. I haven't talked about probiotics. That's another big topic, but that's probably another talk. It's too much to talk about. But the microbiota is so important as well in terms of keeping you healthy and also keeping your mind healthy. So for this talk on fasting and intermittent fasting, again, when you're eating, don't reduce your calories. Just eat what you feel like eating. And eat to satiety, but eat the right foods, like nourish your body. When you're fasting, even, don't think, I'm going to have just a little orange, or I'm just going to have, if you're fasting, because otherwise you're not going to get the MMC, and you're not that cleansing wave through your digestive tract. And you'll also won't be burning your fat tissue because you'll be giving more sugar to your cells. And then the last one, what can I say? Mental wellness is also very important. Try and go out in nature. It's the summer, so go out and take some nature walks and go swimming in the sea and try and mind your it's, you want to mind your body, but you also want to mind your mind. After COVID, we had a lot of mental health issues. And again, if you feed your body the right food, your gut will be happy and your brain will be happy again. So it's kind of a domino effect.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Well, I find it amazing anyway how it's all down to, nearly all down to food. Right.
So I don't know. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's me. Actually, we'll go with one final question.
Okay. A tricky one?
Well, it's not too tricky.
Okay.
So what age should you fast? Or, you're always fasting, you said, so, or you should be always fasting.
So I don't recommend fasting for children and adolescent, people underweight, people. It's all on my website. If people are interested in the who should not fast, there's a whole list. People with cardiovascular issues, people with obviously diabetes type 1. If they have diabetes type 2, they could do intermittent fasting, but they need to talk to their doctor, their GP, particularly if they're taking insulin or any kind of medications. As I said, there's a whole list. But if you're in general good health, I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah, and the website is fastwaytodetox.com, is it? Just so everyone knows.
The fastwaytodetox.com is the website. It's being revamped in the next few weeks. July 12th, I think I've got somebody working on it, but it's all there. And then the online programs of the coaching, I have a 6 weeks intermittent fasting, so coaching people to fast progressively. So we start at the 12-12, so 12 hours of fasting, 12 hours of feast of eating, and then the week after that we go to 14-10, then we go to 16-8, then we go to 18-6, On week 5, we do 1 meal a day. And then on week 6, people pick which formula suited them best over the last 5 weeks. And then we do a challenge. So we do a 24-hour fast or a 36-hour fast, depending how people feel. And it's all coached. Once a week, I meet them online. I give them a talk. They have a booklet to read, and they have little quizzes. They have so it's all online. It's on Thinkific, and then I have 2 other ones. One is a 12-week program for menopausal women who want to learn to do a little bit of intermittent fasting, and the other one is also a 12-week, and it's an overall health. So all sorts of different topics, but using a little bit of intermittent fasting as well throughout the program. And I'm also currently training as a ketogenic diet kind of coach. So once that's done, I will possibly do a 6-week course on how to do ketogenic diet healthily, properly, safely.
Yeah, and I suppose the ketogenic diet's a conversation for another talk, isn't it?
Exactly. But if you think about it, when you're fasting, you're in ketosis. When you're on ketogenic diet, you're in ketosis. Yeah. So that's why my interest went that way, because you can get some of the same results, particularly for weight loss and well-being. But obviously, it's not for everybody, and that's why I'm doing this training to make sure I coach people properly.
And well, I have a note down here that you've trained as a yoga therapist as well.
Yes, so I'm also a yoga therapist, and I specialize in people with Parkinson's, MS, elderly, so seniors, I should call them, so chair yoga for them. And the reason for that is because I have somebody close to me that has Parkinson's. So I decided to go and help.
Okay, absolutely. Right. Well, no, all them.
So that's that's a different website. If they're interested, that's Corrine MBY. So that's for Mind Body Yoga at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Sorry, .com rather.
And then all the fast and retreats, online courses, and can you sign up to the in-person fast and retreats on the Fast Way to Detox?
It's all there. You can sign up. You can sign up for the online courses. You can sign up for the face-to-face retreats. The next one will be, if I remember correctly, the 2nd week of October.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Corrine, and
thank you, Tom, for your time, for your interest. It's always a pleasure to talk to young people.
Yeah, well,
I think that's so important that they get educated at the beginning, so that they don't get health issues later on in life.
Yeah, I must say a big thank you to you, Corrine. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
Right.
So take care.
Thank you all so much for listening. That was packed with knowledge, and if you want more, remember, links in bios to all blog posts, all social medias. Go check them out now. See you in the next one.